Hi everyone, it's good to be back again. I am Paranormal Ripples. I just got my camera because why the hell not? I am Paranormal Ripples, aka Ray, and tonight I am bringing you an episode which is a little different on the conspiracy front. We're going to look at an historical conspiracy, which is to do with Abraham Lincoln and the assassination that took his life on that eventful day by John Wilkes Booth. So, if you like what I'm going to be talking about, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into the Conspiracy Nexus episode 15, the Lincoln assassination. So, for all of you that don't know, or you know roughly, Abraham Lincoln was shot at a theatre by an assailant known as John Wilkes Booth, and he died on the 15th of April, 1865. All right. Okay. How are you doing? He was assassinated, and he was only in office for 4 years. He only had a 4-year term, and he was assassinated at Ford's Theatre. So, I'm going to be looking at the conspiracy theories around his death. I'm all right, thanks, Kay. So, this is Abraham Lincoln, obviously, which I'm going to show you now. Boom. Of course, you know him also he's famous because he's in Washington D.C. on that chair of what's the name? Can't remember that area for the life of me. But there you go. The Lincoln Memorial. There you go. There it was on National Mall in Washington D.C. So, but what you might not know, there's been some conspiracies around his death, and they've only been starting coming to light in the last few years. So, this is the website I've got called RogerJNorton.com, Lincoln, right? And this is bringing some interesting conspiracies about his assassination. John Wilkes Booth, there you go, shot him on April the 14th, right? And questions arose almost immediately. Was he solely responsible or whatever? There you go, with publication of new books with articles in the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000, and even beyond. The quest to find out what really happened has continued. Theory number one on the conspiracy front for him is that Vice President Andrew Johnson was involved with his assassination. Obviously, apparently, Johnson and Booth knew each other. Because if you look at this, approximately 7 hours before shooting the president, Booth dropped by the Washington Hotel, which was Vice President Andrew Johnson's residence. Upon learning from the desk clerk that neither Johnson nor his private secretary, William Browning, was in the hotel, Booth wrote the following note: "Don't wish to disturb you. Are you at home? J. Wilkes Booth." Browning testified before the military court that he found the note in his box later that afternoon. Did Johnson and Booth know each other? In the 1997 publication, Right or Wrong, God Judge Me, the writings of John Wilkes Booth, edited by John Woldhamel and Louise Taper, it is stated on page 146 that Booth had previously met Johnson in Nashville in February of that year. At the time, Booth was appearing in the newly opened Woods Theatre. Also, author Hamilton Arrett in Civil War Echoes, 1907, made the claim that while Johnson was military governor of Tennessee, He and Booth kept a couple of sisters as mistresses and oftentimes were seen in each other's company. Lincoln had essentially ignored Johnson after Johnson's embarrassing behavior on Inauguration Day. Mary Todd Lincoln, that's Abraham's widow at the time, felt Johnson was involved. On March 15th, the year, a couple of years after, a couple of years, she wrote to her friend Sally Orne that miserable inebriate Johnson had cognizance of my husband's death. Why was that card of Booth's found in his box? Some acquaintance certainly existed. I have been deeply impressed with Owen thought that he had an understanding with the conspirators and they knew their man. As sure as you and I live, Johnson had some hand in all this. So there was that theory. And even some members of Congress thought that Johnson was involved, and a special assassination committee was established to investigate any evidence linking him to Lincoln's death. Nothing suspicious was ever found by the committee, yet a belief by some Americans that Johnson was somehow involved with Booth has continued for many years, and then there you go. In the book A Threat to the Republic, The Secret of the Lincoln Assassination, that preserved the Union, author Jerry Madonna argues that Johnson unwittingly gave assistance to Booth's escape from Washington. Theory number 2, though, is that Lincoln died by way of a simple conspiracy organized by Booth himself. This theory has John Wilkes Booth as the originator of the plot, and that all remaining conspirators, with the one exception of John Surratt, were either hanged or sent to prison at Fort Jefferson. If any of you don't know where Fort Jefferson is, it's in Florida. There you go. Look. So, among the books that have supported this theory are Clara Laughlin's The Death of Lincoln, The Story of Booth's Plot, His Deed and the Penalty, David M. DeWitt's The Assassination of Abraham Lincoln and its Expiation, and George S. Bryan's The Great American Myth. Sorry about that, guys. The simple conspiracy paints Booth as a Southern patriot and a racist who originally planned to kidnap the president, take him to Richmond, Virginia, I presume that's Richmond, Virginia, and hold him in exchange for Southern prisoners of war. When the kidnapping plans fell through, though, Booth turned to assassination as his means for revenge. The entire plot consisted simply of Wilkes Booth as the leader of a small band of co-conspirators. In 2004, Michael Kaufman's encyclopedic American Brutus, John Wilkes Booth and the Lincoln Conspiracies, was published. And Kaufman paints Booth as a master at manipulating people, not as a stooge for others. So far, let you believe which one you want to believe, obviously. Going into the third theory, Lincoln's assassination was a result of a Confederate plot. This idea was that Lincoln was killed as part of a grand conspiracy of Confederates. This arose almost immediately after his assassination. Coded letters found in Booth's trunk back at the National Hotel tied him to the Confederacy. This theory, though, has undergone a marked revival in the past 20-plus years. In 1977, a statement conspirator, George is that Atzerodt? Yeah, Atzerodt, made before the trial in 1865, was uncovered. In it, Atzerodt told of Booth's knowledge of a Confederate plot to blow up the White House. The hypothesis of a Confederate Guard conspiracy, though, was detailed in 1988 by William A. Tidwell, James O. Hall, and David Winfred Gaddy in Come Retribution, the Confederate Secret Service and the Assassination of Lincoln. Tidwell supplied further evidence in 1995 with the publication of April 65, Confederate Covert Action in the American Civil War, and that Proponents of the Confederate Guard conspiracy point out that the Confederacy situation deteriorated, more daring and reckless planning was needed, hence Lincoln. So Lincoln was viewed as a legitimate wartime target. This was especially true after the Union's failed Dahlgren raid on Richmond that had been approved by Lincoln himself and was evidence of Lincoln's increasing determination to take whatever steps were necessary to end the war. Colonel Ulrich Dahlgren was killed in the raid, and on his person several documents was found, one of which said, "The men must be kept together and well in hand, and once in the city, it must be destroyed, and Jeff Davis and his cabinet killed." Lincoln had handpicked Dahlgren for the raid, and the Confederate government now believed the Union president had ordered Davis's death. So, and there was more. Look, Confederate Grand Conspiracy theorists feel Judah Benjamin, the Confederate Secretary of State, was deeply involved in the plot to kidnap or kill Abraham. And he burned all of his records before Richmond was evacuated, and then he escaped here to England, and he was the only member of the Confederate government never to return back to America. He practiced law in England until 1883, and in the year after, he died in Paris, France. A year after. And the theory of a Confederate Grand Conspiracy portrays Booth, though, as a rebel agent working to organize a band of men to kidnap Lincoln. So, a bit like Robin Hood, then, eh? A little joke there. When Richmond fell, though, the plans turned to assassination. First, there was the failed effort to blow up the White House, followed by the successful effort to kill Lincoln at the theater. Just as Lincoln may have ordered the killing of Jefferson Davis and his cabinet by Ulrich Dahlgren and his men, Benjamin and Davis were involved in the plans to kidnap and later assassinate Lincoln. The theory, though, of Confederate complicity in the assassination of Lincoln is accepted by several of the current Lincoln assassination historians, scholars, researchers, writers, etc. The actual trigger for Booth's actions was the April the 10th capture of explosives expert Thomas Arney, who was on his way himself to Washington to bomb the White House. Booth, knowing Arney's mission had failed, tried to make up for Arney's disaster by taking matters into his own hands and killing the very president at Ford's Theater. So, what do you think? Confederate plans to blow up the White House seem to be confirmed by George Atzerott's Lost Confession, and there's a page on it here, look. So have a look if you want to, because he looks, interesting to say the least, Full theory, though, was that Lincoln's assassination was the result of a conspiracy of powerful international bankers. Yeah. This one I'm not buying, bankers. This theory is that Abraham Lincoln was killed as a result of his monetary policies. John Wilkes Booth would be seen as a hired gun, and in its simplest terms, that they're saying, this theory is that Lincoln needed money to finance the Civil War. So Europe had bankers led by the Rothschilds. We'll get to them at another time, because might do an episode on them either tonight or tomorrow. Rothschild, this one's pretty messed up on that one. Anyways, the Rothschilds offered him loans at high interest rates. Rather than accept the loans, though, Lincoln found other means to fund his war effort. More importantly, though, the British bankers opposed Lincoln's protectionist policies, and some of Englishmen in the 1860s believed that British free trade, industrial monopoly, and human slavery traveled together, as they did back in them days. Sad but true. Lincoln's policies, though, after the Civil War, would have destroyed the Rothschilds' commodity speculations. So after the war, Lincoln planned a mild Reconstruction policy, which would have enabled a resumption of agriculture production. Whilst the Rothschilds were betting though the other way on high prices caused by a tough Reconstruction policy towards the South. Lincoln was viewed as a threat to the established order of things and was assassinated as a result. The goal, though, was to weaken America, or the United States, whatever you want to call it, so that the Rothschilds could take over its economy. And then an article which was titled "The Rothschilds' International Plot to Kill Lincoln" was published on October the 29th, 1976 in New Solidarity. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't think the banking one is true, but, you know, but again, anything could have been possible, though, like today. Money has a hand in a lot of things. Next one, I think, is about the church killing Lincoln. Yeah, the Roman Catholic Church. Now, this one seems a bit more, you know. So, it's 1896. 1886, I should say. And there's an ex-priest by the name of Charles Chineke. This guy. Majestic beard. As we'll call him. I'm joking. Now, we won't call him Majestic Beard, but yeah, he's a good beard. He wrote a book titled 50 Years in the Church of Rome, which portrayed the assassination of Lincoln as a Catholic grand conspiracy. Majestic Beard Chineke maintained that Jefferson Davis had offered $1 million. Yes, $1 million. It was a lot of money back then. To someone who could kill the author of the bloodshed. Majestic Beard Chineke wrote that the money could be offered, but that the G-suits alone could select the assassins, train them, and show them a crown of glory in heaven. Yeah, heaven. Booth, though, was the tool of the G-suits. He was corrupted and directed by the Vatican. Then, 20 years later, in 1906, Chineke, or Majestic Beard Chineke, whatever you want to call him, said that the president, Abraham Lincoln, was assassinated by the priests and the G-suits of Rome. 10 years prior, like 9 years prior to his assassination, Lincoln defended Chineke in court, and Chineke had quarreled with the bishop and then was sued for slander by one of the bishop's friends. The bishop, as I said there, the bishop had nothing to do with the complaint. So there, funny. A morals charge was also involved. The case was heard on May the 20th to the 22nd, 1856 in Urbana, Illinois. Lincoln arranged for a compromise settlement, but to Majestic Beard Chineke, Chineke, let me know how it's pronounced. I think it's Chineke, that's why I'm saying it like that, but it could be Chineke. Anyways, Majestic Beard Chineke interpreted the settlement as a victory over the church. He felt, though, that some Jesuits held Lincoln responsible for that settlement. Then in 1897, Thomas M. Harris, a member of the 1865 Military Commission, wrote a book entitled Rome's Responsibility for the Assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Other books that involve the Catholic Church in Lincoln's assassination include Democracy Under Siege, the Jesuits' Attempt to Destroy the Popular Government of the United States, The True Story of Lincoln's Death by C.T. Wilcox, and The Suppressed Truth About the Assassination of Abraham Lincoln by Burke McCarty in 1924. McCarty's opening sentence is that in all the bloody history of the papacy, perhaps in no one man, as in Abraham Lincoln, was there concentrated such a multitude of reasons for his annihilation by that system. An inquiry into the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, though, by Emmett McLaughlin, was published in 1963. Among other points, McLaughlin maintained that the majority of American Catholics were in favor of slavery and opposed to Lincoln, because Lincoln obviously wanted to get rid of it. The author said the totalitarian papacy considered Lincoln a major enemy, and that the church for the church for centuries had been involved in numerous instances of the forcible removal of heads of state whom it condemned. That is crazy. Obviously, let me know in the comments what you think, which conspiracy you're leading to go with. Theory 6 is that Secretary of War Edwin Stanton was the mastermind of Lincoln's assassination. And in 1937, Otto Eisenschmidt's Why Was Lincoln Murdered was published. The book exposed the hypotheses that Edwin Stanton, or the Secretary of War, as he was in them days, was directly involved in Lincoln's death. It alleged that Stanton was against Lincoln's mild Reconstruction policies and wanted him out of office so a more radical Reconstructionist policy could be employed. On the day of the assassination, Ulysses S. Grant was expected to attend Our American Cousin with the Lincolns. Eisenschmidt argued that Grant attended, the military guards who protected him would never have allowed Booth to enter the state box at Ford's Theatre. Eisenschmidt even further argued, that's a good name though, Eisenschmidt, he even further argued that Grant's refusal of the Lincoln's theatre invitation was due to an order by Stanton himself to change his plans for that very evening. Eisenschmidt's theory was that Grant's absence left Lincoln vulnerable. Stanton was also alleged to have known that conspirators were meeting at the Surratt boarding house, and that he refused to release from duty the powerful Major Thomas Eckert after Lincoln asked for him as a bodyguard, falsely saying that Eckert had vital work to do at the War Department's telegraph office. Eisenschmidt also continued from there to make the case against Stanton by examining an entire series of events following Booth's shot in the Ford Theatre. Nearly every move Stanton made is seen as suspicious and containing an ulterior motive. Among these behaviors and events were not alerting the security at the Navy Yard Bridge, over which Booth escaped, the mysterious interruption of telegraph communications, secretly arranging to have Booth killed before being brought to trial, and the suppression of evidence by removing pages from Booth's diaries. And then there's some more there. Why Was Lincoln Murdered? And in the late 1970s, other books were published and supported Eisenschmidt's hypotheses. For example, though, one of these was Theodore Roscoe's The Rebel Conspiracy in 1959, and it found Stanton's behavior very suspect. Other government officials were also implicated in this, by all accounts. Further evidence against Stanton was discovered by chemist Ray Neff, who found very sort of cryptic cipher messages allegedly written in 1868 by Lafayette Baker, head of the National Detective Police, which implicated himself, the Secretary of War, and many others, including Congressman David Bolsiger, and including Congressman David Bolsiger and Charles E. Sellier's 1977 publication, The Lincoln Conspiracy, was made into a major motion picture. However, during the past 20 years, research has clearly tended to vindicate Edwin Stanton. So, yeah. In hindsight, behavior by Stanton that appears to be linked to a conspiracy has been shown to be innocent and in some cases fabricated. And there's some books there that about vindication there. Dr. William Anschut's closing sentences in the Lincoln murder conspiracies are as follows. Lincoln would not have enjoyed the extravagant and pseudo-religious praise being offered in his name by so many Americans. Possibly he would have been reminded of some anecdote by which to deflate the absurdities of some exaggerations. But one suspects that if he could learn of the slush written about the suggested involvement of the Secretary of War in his own death, he would have simply become angry. Yeah. That's crazy. So, are you on that theory that it was the Secretary of War? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you're liking the video, like it, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd appreciate it very much. And let me know if you like where I am when I'm doing this, or do you prefer me down here? I think I prefer here because then you can see all the web page better. Right, here we go. Theory number 7, and this is the last theory, was that disaffected Northerners were behind Lincoln's assassination. Several groups in the North opposed Abraham Lincoln and his policies. Radical Republicans feared the president's purported mild plans for Reconstruction. They wanted greater control over what would happen to the South after the war. Also, because of the Union blockade, the price of cotton had risen dramatically, and cotton speculators were reaping the profits. Lincoln, though, seeing the Union need for Southern cotton, had allowed the purchase of cotton in exchange for greenbacks and meat. Despite opposition from Grant and other generals, Lincoln approved cotton trading permits from many individuals, including some of his closest friends. Some devoted Southerners burned their own cotton to keep it out of enemy hands. Others, however, discovered that Union agents were willing to pay the highest prices for cotton in over half a century. Bankers, financiers, businessmen, cotton speculators, and profiteers all benefited from the cotton trade, but they feared the good times would end now that the war was dying down, basically. And the centre for the illicit activity was the Demille and Corral at 178 and a half Walter Street in New York City. Even Lafayette, Baker, and some Confederates may have had ties to this very address. Anti-Lincoln sentiment grew in 1864, though, and covert plotting to rid the nation of Abraham Lincoln increased. In the ciphers found by Ray Neff, Baker wrote there were at least 11 members of Congress involved in this plot, no less than 12 army officers, 3 naval officers, and at least 24 civilians, of which one was a governor of a loyal state. 5 were bankers of great repute. There were even nationally known newspapermen, and 11 were industrialists of great repute and wealth. Which is crazy. Regarding the Northern opposition to Lincoln on September 20th, 1864, Thurlow Weed, or Turlow Weed, well, I think it's Thurlow, wrote to William Soward, or Seward, or Soward, yeah, I think it's Soward, that opposition against Lincoln was equally formidable and vicious, embracing a larger number of leading men than I suppose possible. At the conspiracy trial following Lincoln's very assassinations, Samuel Chester, a friend of Booth's, testified that Booth told him there were from 50 to 100 people engaged in the conspiracy. In his lost confession, George Atzerodt stated that Booth said if he did not get him quick, the New York crowd would. Booth knew that the New York party apparently by a sign. He saw Booth give some kind of sign to 2 parties on the avenue who said were from New York. Then at the 1864 Democratic National Convention, Benjamin Allen of New York said the people will soon rise, and if they cannot put Lincoln out of power by the ballot, they will by the bullet. And there was loud cheers. And then a lenient peace was apparent to the radicals, and the cotton speculators feared an end to their big profits. Cotton traders saw the price of $1.41 per pound in November of 1864 fall to 85 cents by February and below 40 cents by early April. Disaffection grew, and Lincoln had to go. And the man in the field to take action was John Wilkes Booth. One book which ties Lincoln's assassination to money interests motivated by their own trading activities in Charles Iams murdering Mr. Lincoln, a new detection of the 19th century's most famous crime. Another book which emphasizes Northern clad line business deals with the South is The Dark Union, the secret web of profiteers, politicians, and Booth conspirators that led to Lincoln's death by Leonard Guttridge and Ray Neff. Other groups and individuals may have had times been implicated in Lincoln's assassinations include Freemasons, obviously. Freemasons, big deal. An alliance of disaffected Northerners and Confederates, the B'nai B'rith, and the Knights of the Golden Circle, Major Henry Rathbone, John F. Parker, Thomas T. Eckert, and Mary Todd Lincoln herself have not totally escaped suspicion. Speculation that Booth's motivation was to avenge the hanging of Confederate John Yates Bill is not yet proven. Although it's been over 150 years since an assassination, any kind of closure of all the circumstances surrounding the event still seem a long way to distance. So, and that's yeah. So that's the conspiracies around Abraham Lincoln. So which one do you believe in? Do you believe in it being Johnson, the vice president, involved? Or do you think he died by way of a simple conspiracy organized by Booth? They planned to kidnap him and take him, but it fell through, and that's why he ended up taking him out with the bullet. Was it a Confederate plot? Or was it just the bankers that wanted to get rid of Lincoln? Or was the church involved in it and they wanted to take him out? Sorry about that. Or was it Edwin Stanton, the mastermind behind it, the Secretary of War? Or was it just disaffected Northerners who just wanted, because of the cotton trade? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Yeah. Stop screen. Yeah. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. It is crazy, and there's conspiracy theories about it. Also, there was also more people. There was also a few more people that were testified and convicted of his assassination in connection with it. Some were Dr. Samuel Mudd, who was an American physician who treated Bill Booth's broken leg after the assassination. Mudd was convicted of conspiracy and sentenced to life imprisonment, but he was pardoned by President Andrew Johnson in 1869. Yeah, Vice President Johnson. Lewis Powell, also known as Lewis Payne, was assigned to assassinate Secretary of State William Soward. Powell was captured and later hanged for his role in the conspiracy. David Errold, he accompanied Booth during his escape and was aimed for his involvement in the conspiracy. George Atzerodt, obviously, who we just spoke about, he was tasked with killing Andrew Johnson but failed to carry out the attack, and he was convicted and hanged. And Mary Soward, she owned the boarding house we were just looking at, that they all had a meeting at. And that Soward was the first woman executed by the United States federal government after being found guilty of conspiracy. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think, please, in the comments, because it's crazy. So, was it a conspiracy or by one of them, or what? Like I said, let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Go and like and follow me on TikTok and Facebook at Paranormal Ripples. Also, like this video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to have you on board. It'd mean the world to me. Obviously, being disabled and not having good confidence. But thank you all so much for watching. Um, but yeah, thank you all again for and that. I'm aiming for 100 subs by the end of the year. I'm nearly halfway there with nearly 50 subs, but I appreciate having you all on board if you do. And thank you all for watching. Take care, everyone, and have a good night. And I'll be back on later. So don't be sure to come in and join me. But if not, like I say, have a good night or good day or good morning whenever you're watching this, and take care. Bye, everyone, and take care.